Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. They do a great job of making sure, A, you're fully insured, and then they go to great lengths to make sure they save you money. So important, especially in these times, because customer service means everything to them. It is all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Pro Day today at Holuba Hall, and joining us now is T. Frank Carr. T. Frank, welcome back, my friend. It's great to see you today.
Yeah, it was good to see you. How long did you stick around, Steve?
Stuck around till about 11, right? So I was there for, I don't know, almost 2 hours. Not bad.
Yeah, good. Enough time to say hi, do your celebrity appearance, talk to all the important people as the ambassador you are. Yes,
rubbing elbows, hobnobbing. It's what I do. It's great to be the ambassador. Yeah. Today, I've always looked at today. People will talk, of course, the headline will be that Carter and Warren didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's 2025. No offense. I don't think they have to do anything. They're not going to. Their stocks are going to change one way or the other, whether they do something or not.
Yeah, it's just fun for us. It's the bummer of, I didn't get to put out the video of Abdul Carter running a 4.49 or a 4.38 or whatever he'd run. It's just at that point, it's just to show off, I think, for Abdul Carter, if he's healthy and all those things. And for Tyler Warren, to your point, he doesn't have to. They don't have to do any of these things. So why risk anything? And if you're not 100%, in Carter's case, why put anything out there that might tell people, well, maybe he isn't as good as we think he is, which would be nonsense. But this is kind of a nonsense thing. Some people take, these things, the testing numbers and run away with them in certain situations. Not everybody, but some people. And so, I think to me, it's always a good day for those guys that need to prove something, and the guys that can then shine when. I guess the only thing would be is if those guys participated, there might have been more eyeballs for a guy like Jalen Reed doing his field drills or for Kobe King today. So I think, to me, that's the only negative is for the other guys that are there.
Yeah, because Reed put up his numbers in Indianapolis, and he stuck by his numbers. That's what he did. But other guys, I felt today was important, especially anybody who could be a late day 2 or a day 3 guy versus an undrafted free agent. To me, I thought, I don't know what you think, but I think this day is valuable in that regard for these guys.
Yeah, there are 3 guys that I think aced it in that regard. And I don't think that, not necessarily that some of these guys were teetering on going undrafted. I always thought Kobe King would be drafted, but he put together a day today that was excellent and I think firmly secures him as a middle-round draft pick. Running a 4.63 was the biggest thing for him. Like, speed was a question. He talked about that afterwards, where he wanted to prove that to people. And so coming in at 2.36, I mean, Steve, if football doesn't work out for him, he can just go have a job as an action figure or an extra in movies, because the dude is built perfectly. If you were to lab grow a human with perfect muscle definition, it would look like Kobe King. Like, it's just crazy the way he looks without his shirt on. And to run a 4.63 and have the other numbers he had and the fluidity, jumping almost 10 feet in the broad jump, I think he aced it. Today was a big day for him, and I think that it secured him as I would imagine, a mid-round draft pick, and a guy that can start in the NFL with those numbers, and his film, which, as we know, against the run, is absolutely excellent.
Two other guys I thought helped themselves based on what they did with the numbers today would be Jalen Kimber and Keziah Izzard. What were your thoughts?
Steve, I'm going to start with Jalen Kimber and then end with Keziah Izzard. So Kimber, I absolutely agree, running a 4.39. He's the guy, when you turn on the film, he can cover anybody. There was very few receivers that got away from him last season. Even Jeremiah Smith, when they played, he had reasonably good coverage on him. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't the hardest task on the day because for some reason Ohio State forgot he was on the football field and rarely threw him the football. But when you watch him run with Jeremiah Smith downfield, as the hardest receiver on the schedule last year, Kimber had no problem covering him. He's got good film as a zone corner, and he showed he's got the speed play man coverage. So ball productivity, that's going to be the major thing for him that I think a lot of teams are going to ask about. But in terms of athleticism, he proved he's an NFL player, a guy that I think even has starting NFL caliber tools, but it's the conversation of the production on the field and how long it took him to get there. Today was actually a little bit cathartic for me watching Keziah Izzard perform, because I remember, it might have been even on your show back in the day when Keziah Izzard was recruited to Penn State. I remember looking at this dude on film at DeMatha and thinking, this guy can be a complete defensive tackle, like that prototypical 3 technique that could be explosive and big enough to be great against the run and a pocket compressor and athletic. So then he jumps the second highest out of anybody at the Pro Day today with 33.5 inches. Would have been like the third best at the Combine. A 9.5 broad jump, and then a 4.8 140. Yeah. Steve, he was the only lineman that took his shirt off, and he had good reason to do it. Because the dude, again, is absolutely built. But then you ask the question, why didn't he ever produce in college? Why was he never a starter? With all of that talent, why was he always just a rotational piece? Why was he passed up by a guy like Zane Durant? So with those numbers, that's like a second-round draft pick at 305. You know, he is the complete defensive tackle. Where he falls, to me, is a complete wild card. But I think those are draftable numbers, even with those questions about film and production, in the college level, because you just don't find dudes that can do that. That's freaky.
The fact that he got out there and ran today, I thought this was a pivotal day for KJ Winston because of what has happened to him within the last 8-9 months. What were your thoughts watching him, and how important was the day for him?
It was. He still doesn't look like KJ. You know, when watching him in person when he's healthy, he's just different. His explosiveness, the bounciness in him, he looked like a really good football player. And he ran a 4.5, so that's really good. Yeah. It's not great for KJ Winston, and he told us that was the second full-speed 40 he's run since returning to play, or returning to participation, which I believe, based on Adam Schefter's tweet the other month, was March 1st. So he's 5 months out from his surgery. This is all really great stuff. And, Steve, I'm super annoyed. I mean, I'm really happy for KJ, but I am desperate for the Bills to find a safety that has athleticism like him. And, running a 4.5 basically on one leg, the dude is going to get drafted in the second round. If it doesn't happen, that's the sort of idiocy that I don't understand personally. I think he's going to be the best of the best that's come out of Penn State in the secondary because of the skills and the tools he has at nearly 6'2", running a 4.5. He was telling us that he could run in the 4.3s before he got hurt. Those are all. If he had played this year, this is a guy that should have been a first-round draft pick. So he's going to be cleared for training camp, he said, and that might be a little bit of something that makes teams nervous. If they're going to invest a high draft pick, you want to get something out of a guy, and if he's super rusty during his rookie season, I think those are all valid reasons that you might say, okay, we can wait a little bit. But the first team that pulls the trigger on him is going to get a guy that for the next 4 years, if nothing else happens to him, and not knock on wood, this should be a guy that is a standout in the NFL.
Yeah, well, because I'll be asked to do interviews for various shows across the country, and they'll ask me, give me an under-the-radar guy that you think from Penn State to steal. I said, well, KJ Winston, because nobody saw him play last year.
Yep.
And he has, I think he's, you mentioned the times, I think he's, in his career, he's been like at his best has been like 4.37, 4.38, some number around there.
He said he ran a 4.3, and I will draw the line that he did not run a 4.30 because that's just insane at 210 pounds.
No, everybody.
I assumed it was in the 4.3. So yeah, that's what he said. I would imagine that I believe for sure. But and again, at that size, that's game changing ability that can play at any position in the secondary.
Well, it's interesting because. He has got all the tools you're asking for in that position. And you're right. The Bills are sitting there. You're like, okay, interesting.
Two twos. They got 2 second-round draft picks, I'm just hoping. Because I'm tired of watching great receivers just run around the field on them. But anyway, this is not a Bills podcast.
But it does seem to warp in that direction. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I thought, how interested are you by numbers versus how interested are you by video?
Yeah, so I think the numbers are important. There's a reason we do this. There's a reason that, teams, all 32 teams flew people from across the country to come and watch these guys in person because these numbers over time, they do point to if a guy is going to be successful, he has to fall within these parameters doing these drills from what we've seen. Film is always the most important thing. But you can then separate one versus the other if two guys are close based on their athleticism scores and their ability to run. We can't call football a game of inches and then disregard the inches in measurement when we do the combine. You just can't over-invest in it. You can't make it the driving force of whether you pick a guy or move a guy up or down your board to an extreme degree. Like, again, Keziah Izzard, the film to me says this is a guy – it's obvious he has talent. I was watching the combine, and I thought, okay, there's a couple defensive tackles out there that I was watching them, and I'm like, Keziah Izzard is a better athlete than these guys. He should be at the combine. But those players were starters. And so I don't want to, I'm not trying to beat up on Keziah, but, like, this is kind of the dichotomy. He's a perfect example of the division between the two, that sometimes they matter a lot, and then sometimes – they don't matter as much, and the player is better or worse than those numbers indicate. So it is a fine line, but I'm always interested in knowing the numbers and the athleticism and the testing because it paints a picture and it fills in the details that you always want to know if you're a fan or somebody like me who rides the line between fan and completely obsessed, stalker of numbers and data.
Well, if I'm a coach, a scout, general manager, and I see certain numbers, and, because I pretty much know where we're going here, rounds 1 and 2 and 3. And on a day like this, I'm going to look at the guys that could be in round 2 and definitely day 3, okay? There may be somebody who puts up numbers where I sit back and go, you know what? Let's make sure we call up his video. I want to take a long look at this guy. These numbers are worthy of a look. That's how I look at what today means. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fair, it's that adage of it makes you go back and look at a guy again. And any opportunity you have to be memorable in this process when there's thousands of players trying to get drafted is absolutely something that's important. And I think for a guy like Jalen Kimber, that number is really important because it'll make you go back and you'll say, okay, maybe you were looking at somebody else, and suddenly you're going back and you're watching the Ohio State film or you're watching something that happened in the Oregon game. It might make you look at it in a different light, and I think those are important things to do. So I agree with that in terms of how that affects the process. But there are certain numbers, there are certain things that will kind of be either a prohibitor in terms of I don't know if we can do anything with that, or a guy that on the positive side, like you mentioned, that will take you back to that player to watch them again.
Oh, by the way, the other guy I thought ran a pretty good time was Sal Wormley today. We haven't really talked much about him, but I thought Sal went out and put together a decent time for a guy that's an interior lineman.
Yeah, for somebody who's 330 pounds and came in, 6'3", 327. The 40 time is good, for a guy that size. I would say, talking about some of those other metrics, the explosiveness, which is something that for a guy who's very powerful, if you're going to be running a gap scheme with him and you want him to just get into double teams and maul guys, that may not matter. But that explosiveness, I think that was the area where he struggled a little bit today. Didn't have a great broad, didn't have a great vertical, but you put him into a football situation and he's going to be able to move some bags and move some pads, and he's built like a tank. So those are all some positive things. But I think he did a good job of proving kind of who he is. There's a lot of film out there now on Sal Wormley of the guard, and so I wouldn't say that there was anything that was prohibitive, but there were the 40 time was definitely his best thing he did today.
Look, he didn't hurt himself. And sometimes that's the best thing you do. You don't hurt yourself. Vanover runs a 4.76, didn't hurt him. So things like that happen. You didn't hurt yourself, and that's the bottom line. Can
I ask you, Steve, about Vanover? Because that's a guy I'm interested in. What do you think he is for the NFL at the next level? Is he a defensive end? Is he kind of a 5 technique? Do you think they'll ask him to bulk up again and play defensive tackle? He's the kind of guy that I think is a wild card in this situation, because depending on the team and the scheme, he could play 3 different positions on the defensive line, and I don't have a good read in my mind of what he is at the next level.
I think he's a defensive end at the next level, because when you're 258 right now, he does have a good frame on him, but I'm not going to take him and put him up to 285, 290. Because I think he becomes less effective. Even though he has the frame, I think they can handle it. The question is, can he handle it and keep the quickness he has? So I would get him out at that defensive end spot, but I also would not be afraid to use him in a zone drop scheme, because I think he can put himself into a coverage where, because Penn State played zone drop, zone read, right?
Yeah.
Because they do that. That's always been an advantage for Penn State players that play the defensive end spot, because they've had the ability to drop and show that kind of versatility, which you and I both know coordinators love the ability to have the option of being able to come at you from different angles. And if you can have an end that can drop, I can come at you from a different angle.
And he's got giant tennis rackets for hands, so he can get those into passing lanes pretty well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I think he's an end at this spot. It's one thing they never really did do with him here. You know how they'll take an end and they'll play him at the nose when they go with 3 down linemen? Manny did that, and Tom did that. They never did that with Vanover. He was a guy that was not okay. So that tells me something. That's what that tells me.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Yeah. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for jumping on. By the way, you have a first choice at quarterback. It would be who?
Oh, I've got Josh Allen, so I haven't looked at a quarterback in 5 years. But I would say probably I'm torn. I've heard enough good things about Cam Ward. I have seen Shadur Sanders, and I do like Shadur Sanders because I think he plays the game in a smart way. I think he's responsible with the football. I think he's super accurate. He's got a really quick release. He's really quick with the football. I haven't done a deep dive on either of these guys, but I don't buy Jackson Dart being a first-round pick. I think he is good. No. I was impressed with him watching him in the Peach Bowl. Mm-hmm. My concern is just he gave me really good college quarterback vibes, but I don't know what the upside would be in him to take him in the first round. And so I don't think the arm is bad. I don't think, he's unathletic. There's nothing that really stands out about Dart. So this would be a year that I would love to trade my first-round draft pick, so I would have it next year for next year's quarterback class. I think that's my best assessment of this class is how do I get to next year with two ones in case I need to get a quarterback.
Sanders, short intermediate throws, I think he's terrific. The other part is if you're a high draft pick as a quarterback, you're going to go to a lousy offensive line team. It's almost a given. He is tough as nails. USC
He's
pounded
used to
it.
that.
USC pounded him into the turf at the Coliseum that night 2 years ago, kept getting up. Arizona kept pounding him into the turf in the Alamo Bowl, kept getting up. That impressed the heck out of me. As for Dart, the complaints about him would be, is he a system quarterback? Okay. And then people complain about pressure in his face and how his feet react. Every quarterback is lousy when they have pressure in their face. But he's, to me, he's a second. To me, he's a second-round pick.
Yeah, which I have a theory about second. This is the problem: is there's no such thing as a second-round pick at quarterback. Like, that's a working theory I have, because if you're a second-round pick, you become a first-round pick based on value and need and desperation, which creates this unrealistic expectation, and it cuts out the middle class of quarterbacks. So you're either a first-round draft pick or you're like a fifth-round draft pick. Like, there's second and third round quarterbacks are so rare. And I know, like, Russell Wilson exists, and I was Drew Brees back in the day, but very few quarterbacks that are like second-round picks actually end up as second-round picks. I agree with you in terms of his value, but it's just a working theory I've had, or I've been trying to flesh this out of that it's a myth. The second-round quarterback is a myth. So if you're right, I think he is going in the first round, I guess is where I'm ended up here. So 3 first-round draft pick quarterbacks maybe.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts was a 2. So you've had some. They've had some. And boy, Lamar Jackson was
poking holes in my theory.
And Lamar Jackson was so close to it too.
Right. But he was a first-round draft pick. That's where it started. That in my theory, that's where it started. Because you got to get that fifth-year option on the contract, it's worth all that stuff too. Yeah.
Well, the other part too is pro day. The two of the worst pro days ever were Peyton Manning and Lamar Jackson. Seemed to pan out. So, you never know. You never know. T. Frank, you're the best. You're the best, buddy. Appreciate it. It was great seeing you today. Thanks a lot for your time.
As always, Steve, thanks for having me.
Thomas Frank Carr, Blue White Illustrated on 3.com on News Radio 1070.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from McDonald's, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a hamburger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
WKOK.
Hey, where have you been?
I'm, laying low.
Laying low?
Yeah, the heat's on because of my new Hyundai from Sunbury Motors. I got $7,000 off on a new Hyundai Santa Fe. They're gonna think I stole it.
Deal's so right, it almost feels wrong. At Sunbury Motors Hyundai. During the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, take $3,500 off. Plus 1.99% APR financing for 60 months. Or $7,000 off on all 23 of the 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe's available, which start under $40,000. Take up to $10,000 off or 0% APR financing for 60 months on 7 new Hyundai Ioniqs starting under $42,000. And as always, military and first responders get an extra $500 off their purchase. Plus, all new Hyundais come with Hyundai Assurance and America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Come down to Sunbury Motors Hyundai today, and together we can be alive in 2025. Sunbury Motors Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury.
107 years ago, Ford Motor Company introduced their first truck, the Model TT, revolutionizing how America works and drives. And for 107 years, Sunbury Motors has been the name Central PA trusts for trucks. That's why we're celebrating our 107th annual Truck Month with over 125 brand new trucks on the lot at Sunbury Motors, 943 North 4th Street in Sunbury. We've got 24 Ford Mavericks, 61 Ford F-150s, and 29 Super Duties ready to roll, and they're all priced to move. Take up to $15,000 off a 2024 Ford F-150. Grab a 2024 Ranger with $5,500 off, or drive home a 2024 Maverick starting at under $31,000. It's a March filled with madness, so don't wait. Come see the selection at Sunbury Motors today, where together we'll be alive in 2025.
you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on the show today, brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury. The beverage supermarket imports domestics microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Terrific array of ready-to-drink cocktails. High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, and Pickle Bar, led by my 2 personal favorites, the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none, all at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Deion Sanders, 5-year, $54 million extension at Colorado. Abdul Carter says overall impact makes him the number 1 pick. He will go to Green Bay, by the way. He will be there. He says he's always dreamed about walking across that stage and getting a jersey from the commissioner. So he is definitely going to Green Bay. Tyler Warren and Carter did not work today. So let's get back to what we talked about earlier in the week, Todd. And we're waiting for the King, correct? We lost Todd. I don't have the King or Todd. I'm being abandoned left and right. The story is quite simple. What have we talked about today? We have talked about the Sweet 16 in college basketball, and we've talked about Penn State's Pro Day. What haven't we talked about today? The opening day of Major League Baseball, which goes back to what I talked about yesterday and the day before. Who runs this show? How do you sit there and not have opening day be on Tuesday, where on Wednesday we're talking about opening day? Instead, they start the season opposite the Sweet 16, and we've talked about nothing but the Sweet 16 today. Oh, and by the way, we have also talked about Pro Day. We have not one time talked about Major League Baseball. That is what happens when you are a poorly run organization in a bubble. Welcome to Major League. And I love baseball. Love it. But the people who run it think it's 1952 and the whole world revolves around them, and then they realize nobody's talking about them. That's their fault. Yesterday was a monumental day because yesterday was the King's birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. I forgot about it. Yeah, another one made it. Made it. I mean, the biggest thing is making it to Medicare, so that's just awesome. So Medicare is the best insurance I've ever had. So.
Yes, that's probably true. Yeah,
it's very true.
It's been a great week for you. You've made it to Medicare, and Calipari lost.
Oh, I was happy when the 2 of them were playing each other. You know, I can't even. Well, we're on the radio, so I can't call them what I call them. When Patino played Calipari, that was a big moment for me. That meant one of them was going home. So, but I don't know. But they can coach, but they cheat, and they're into gambling, and they're into all kinds of stupid stuff that I wouldn't want my boy to be coached by either one of them. So,
well, big week for you. Big week. And I know, I'm sure I guess Paige Beckers did confirm today she is going to go to the WNBA draft. So she will not come back for the injury year, the extra year for her. So,
well, it's wonderful for them. It was awful watching Juju.
Oh, that was terrible. That's terrible.
I saw it live, and it broke my heart. I was just, because I saw what Paige Becker went through, I saw what Asia Fudd went through, and this is the first tournament that Asia Fudd and Paige Becker are playing together in the tournament. They've both been blown out knees for at least 2 years each, if not 3 for Asia Fudd. Asia Fudd's going to come back. So, but we'll see what happens. I mean, they blew South Carolina off the court a month ago with the two of them on the court. They beat them by 30 points in South Carolina, which was just stunning. But we'll see.
Watkins,
really good teams. So
Juju Watkins is scheduled to play a game here next year. So because Penn State
worth the price. She's that good.
Penn State went out to USC this past season, so USC has to come back this year. So
yeah, well, let's hope that she recovers from her surgery. Women blow their knees out constantly. I don't know anything about the medical end of it, why, but they seem to have issues. I remember Shea Ralph, she blew her knees out, ended her career. Paige Becker's, did you hear what Paige Becker did?
No. I haven't. With all due respect,
she gets major NIL money.
I haven't.
Close to $1 million. And, she's on Nike commercials and all that. She bought, every team gets 1,500 tickets for their students.
Right. Yep.
So she bought them all. Right. And then put them in a lottery so that the kids could go. They get free tickets. So.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, she's got all kinds of things like that on the UConn campus. She's got something for eating disorders, and that's like $60,000 she puts into that. She's always taken that money right from the start and put it back into the college. And her viewpoint was these people pay a lot of money to come watch us play all year long, and this is us giving back to them. So
yeah, good for her. Yeah, she's gone through a lot of adversity.
She stepped up to knock to get the students there and stuff like that. So she's one of the good ones. She's a good egg. And hope she has a good WNBA career. So,
I haven't
play.
I have not seen a single second of the women's tournament, so I do know like all the favorites have won, which makes it an average year.
Well, it's the same with the men. I mean, the NIL and all this transferring has changed the game. That you're taking away the Cinderella teams. So.
Well, up to a point. You've had, like, for example, New Mexico won, McNeese State won. It's just getting to the Sweet 16 they didn't. There's no question that players are moving up, but you're not getting 40 and 50-point blowouts. Okay?
No.
Okay, that's the gigantic difference. Round 2 is like a legitimate round for every team in the tournament, including Duke. And that has not happened on that side of it yet.
I personally think that the quality is really better. You always understood why the Cinderella teams were there, because those guys played together for 4 years.
Yeah.
They were older and beating younger teams, but being called Cinderellas. So those older guys are being scooped up now in the portal.
No doubt.
So they're not staying at those schools anymore.
Oh, I know.
And then money talks. So,
no. Suit hates when I talk about money. I try to tell him. I said, it's a business. What do you expect us to talk about? It's a business.
It's a big business.
This isn't Fantasyland. The rides are not open at Fantasyland. It's a business. Even when the rides are open at Fantasyland, even it's a business to them.
I mean, it's been good for the women's game, only because not so good for the better teams that are losing transfers, but the kids want to play, So
yeah,
I get it.
No, kids. No, it's and then of course there's the old, and I've used this expression many times. I'll use it again here. I ain't starting, I'm departing.
Yeah. Well, guys like Gino don't like that, but he gets it. So.
Well, you got to be able to live. You have to be able to adapt if you want to stay in the business.
Yeah.
And anybody who gets out of the business, they've already had their time. They've already had their glory of it. And they also have the financial means to step away from the game. And they've done it because they are financially set for life. Now, Gino's set for life, too. I mean, there's no question about that.
See, I don't like that coach's thing. That, well, the coach he can move, and he's making his money. Well, yeah, he didn't.
Yeah.
When he signed Rebecca Lobo, he was in a Pinto.
Yeah,
broken down Pinto at Southwick High School. He had no money. He had nothing,
Right.
And he was in his mid-30s at that point, almost 40 years old. We're talking. I hate it when they compare an 18-year-old athlete to an adult who has a house, who has kids,
has a career. Who has a career? Who has a career? And I mean, a career means. I mean, look. I'll give you an example. When I started doing play-by-play, okay, and it was State College High School football and Lady Lion basketball in 1980, so 45 years ago, okay?
I remember.
Right? I got $5 per game. Okay? I got $5 per game, literally. Yeah. And it was like, and believe me, I needed the $5. But that's what I got.
You earned your way. I mean,
and that's when I
dare anybody else come up and say, "Well, look at you." Oh, bull,
Right? No, but like the same thing with coaches. I mean, my goodness, so many have taken jobs over the time when they were really trying to break into it, where they're the low-level staffer making very little money, and the only thing that they got out of the job is because of what they were doing. They got the best copier in the building. I mean, right, because the part of their job was to make copies. So, Bill, go make copies. We'll give you the good one. But, yeah, that's how people work their way up. And then when we finally see them in this spot where the spotlight is on them and now they're making great money, believe me, none of them forgot about all those days and all those camps that they went to just trying to somehow get themselves through the door in some way, shape, or form to get the opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. And so Gino goes around in a Pinto. He's trying to start whatever he's doing, and he gets to this point. I'm sorry. He's earned every dime he has made in his career. He's earned it.
All. He was an assistant coach in Virginia, and Connecticut hired him.
Right. And he wasn't making any money at Virginia.
Full of players, and he had to go out and prove his way. And
he wasn't.
To this day, there are two athletes at UConn who changed everything about that college. And the number one athlete is Rebecca Lobo. And Rebecca Lobo could have played at any college in the country. She had a free ride. She had a 4.0 high school average. She had a free ride to Notre Dame, Stanford, Tennessee, you name it. They all wanted her, and she picked UConn. Against her parents. Their parents were teachers. UConn's academics was not very good, and they could not believe that she took UConn, but there was something about Gino. And she was playing at either a field hockey game or a soccer game, I'm not sure. And after the game, Gino was sitting in the parking lot at the high school, and she signed her letter of intent on the hood of his car.
Yeah.
And she literally changed that college academically and sports-wise. That she put them on the map, and because she went there, Pam Weber went there, and because Pam Weber went there, Jen Rosati went there, and it just that, and then Diana Taurasi, and they all started going there, and they were all very good students, which helped build the academic credibility of the college. And Rebecca Lobo is the one who built UConn's reputation, and she'll never get enough credit for it, but she could have gone anywhere she wanted to, and she chose Connecticut because of Gino. And Gino was like, he made $15,000 a year.
Right.
You know, now they say,
That's right.
Gino, he's rich. He can say, well, you know what? He put the time in.
I'm saying, but the ability to adapt are guys that have stepped away, that have made a lot of money in the profession because they've been there a while. Tony Bennett was at Virginia a long time. Jay Wright at Villanova. You know, Mike walked away. But they all made money eventually. But they all went through the same thing, right? When I'm talking about making $5 a game to do a state-eye game on a Friday night in 1980, $5 extra to do a Lady Lion basketball game in 1980, we all start there. We all have to crawl around and do the best we can to get ourselves money, reps, whatever it may be, with the hope that if things fall into place, there's a payoff at the end.
Yeah, and you have to be good. You know, so you've got to be good at your craft, and you have to work hard at it if you really want it. You'd say Jay Wright. I told the story before. Well, there was some Christmas tournament or whatever at Madison Square Garden, and you invited me to go, and I sat behind Hofstra's bench. And I'm watching this coach, and I'm like, this guy's different. He's good. And it was Jay Wright, and he was coaching at Hofstra. And I'm sure he probably wasn't making $50,000 a year to coach at Hofstra, you know?
That was also, people don't realize, he was at Hofstra for 7 years.
Yeah. And
7 years. He didn't just like flash in the pan, here I am, Villanova hires me. He was there at 7 years because Jay and I have talked about it. Right? And the running joke we have is that we're two of the few survivors left from that night. that's the joke the two of us have had about it.
I just remember Rutgers running down the court and the whole building shaking. Those guys were huge. They were some big boys. But who was in the tournament? Rutgers, Hofstra?
It was Princeton, Hofstra, Penn State, because Penn State beat Princeton and Hofstra. And I'm trying to think if it was Fordham, maybe?
Wasn't it Rutgers?
It may have been Rutgers. That's right, Rutgers.
Yeah,
and
Rutgers.
And Rutgers finished fourth. They lost to Princeton in the third place game. And Penn State held on and beat Hofstra to win the championship.
That's when the brothers were there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Crispin brothers were both there.
Yeah, that was fun. I had such a good time. But I'll never forget watching him. I had no idea who he was. And I thought, wow, this guy is a great, great coach. You know, I told you after the game, that guy for Hofstra is really, every kid, he'd take him out of the game, he'd put his arm around them and sit on the bench with them and talk to them. And then he'd get back up again. And it didn't matter who it was. He would take him out, sit, and he was always coaching. And man, he is a good, good coach. And hey, he ends up winning a couple national championships, you know, Villanova.
Bucknell grad. Hey, so he spent his time here.
Same with Calipari when I saw him at UMass. I said, what a douche.
Oh, jeez.
I could sit, and you told me, you said, I'll never forget it. You said, you watch. He will bring this program to the top, and then he'll leave it in a mess. And they never recovered. UMass never recovered from John Calipari. Never. I don't think they've been in the tournament since he left.
Well,
he destroyed their program. So.
Every once in a while, I get one right. So.
Oh, you nailed it. I mean, you called it exactly how it was going to go, and it went exactly that way. He brought them to the Final Four, and then the whole thing fell apart because he was paying players, he was cheating, he was doing whatever he was doing, and he left left the school in a mess. They were on probation, the whole 9 yards. They never recovered. So, to this day, they haven't recovered. So,
no.
Every time I see him on TV, I'm just like, oh, my God, here we go. You know? So now he's got a daughter who's really pretty, and they put her right behind the bench and keep her on the camera all the time. And now he's exploiting his kids. And he's probably not. It's just my mindset.
He's not.
This is what John Calipari does.
That's all the TV guys. Believe me. It's like every.
You know, she's right.
Have you ever seen the? Have you ever seen the shot? Have you ever seen
about the brand, John Calipari?
Have you ever seen the shot?
You what happened last year, right? Was it when things are falling apart at Kentucky, and the kid is dribbling the ball, and Kentucky's up by 10 with 5 seconds left, and the kid's dribbling the ball, and Calipari's yelling, "Shoot it, shoot it, shoot it!" And the kid looks at the coach like, "Coach, we're winning by 10." The spread was 11.
Boy.
Nobody ever called him out on it, but it was about the spread, meeting the spread. So what kickbacks was he getting on that? So,
well, when it comes to shots, have you ever seen the one of the kid, like when Northwestern lost and he was crying in the stands and they kept showing it over and over again?
Yeah.
That's actually with Jim Phillips, who's now the ACC commissioner. That's his son. Like, I mean, well, of course he's crying. For goodness sake, what are you showing him for? Come on. You know, it's TV that exploits.
It's all about money.
Oh,
money.
Oh, there's a funny thing that Dick Girardi and then Sean Morris, who's on BTN, and you love Sean Morris. He's one of the greatest guys ever. Right? We have a running joke. It's all about the kids. Right? And I'll say, you know, for the coaches, it is all about the kids. For the staff, it's all about the kids. For the athletic director, it's all about the kids. But when you get to the conference and the NCAA level, and the TV level, it absolutely is not about the kids. I mean, it is about the money. Okay, why does Penn State play at USC on a Tuesday night at 9:00 and they're on a plane landing in State College at 6:30 in the morning on a Wednesday? If it's all about the kids.
Exactly.
It's all about TV and time slots. Please.
Big time money. Big time money. Money.
It's all about the kids, babe.
Destroying everything, but you know, like Grampy used to say, money's not everything, but try and do anything without it.
No, money isn't everything, but it's way ahead of what's in second place. I think the suit has that motto up on his wall in the office. Money isn't everything, but it's way ahead of what's in second place. All right.
So is anyone going to beat Duke?
I'll tell you. First team to 100 tomorrow.
Yeah.
First team to 100. All right. Happy birthday.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Oh. Many more to come. So.
Absolutely. All right. See you, brother.
Okay. Bye, brother. Bye, Todd. Oh.
Happy birthday. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Happy birthday. See ya. That's the best you could do there, Todd? Happy birthday. See ya?
I was more impressed with his confidence that there were going to be many more.